for YouTube. So I apologize. We've moved the budget meeting back a little bit in the year, and part of that is kind of facilitate a couple different processes. Probably the biggest departure this year is when we budget expenses, all that budgeting of expenses is going to be taking off the property. We at the regional level be doing primarily the bulk of the budgeting of expenses. Your expenses will be budgeted on a POR or percentage of revenue basis based on the average within your brand. So, for example, we will budget cost of breakfast at like hotels. For example, if you're a Hampton Inn or Hampton Inn Suites, you will have a similar cost of. You will get the same cost of breakfast across the portfolio. Spring Hills, same thing. Generally speaking, everybody has a partner with the exception of I believe Hilton Garden Inn and Baymont and Country Inn. So everybody has a partner, so they'll get a brand average, as it were, for expenses. And those will be preloaded by myself, Mike, and Rob. We're locking ourselves away for a week in September and working on expenses for your hotel. So there won't be a ton of work for you in regards to doing that component of that's true. Andrea and Benita does not have a partner. That actually may be changing, so you never know. Hopefully soon we'll be getting partners for all of you. But generally speaking, if you have multiple brand, we're going to use the average as opposed to if we have one hotel that historically has performed exceptionally well, we continue to expect exceptional behavior. And if you have a hotel who's traditionally performed poorly in one expense category or what have you, the expectation will be that you meet the average within your brand. So, for example, cost of breakfast, cost of linen, a lot of those drivers that are performance-based, POR-driven type expenses will all be budgeted for you. Additionally, we will take your A&P, your sales, performance, we'll put that in for you. We will be doing utilities and basically all the expense items. So all those will be done in advance. I know you all have sent in your preliminary budget top line forecast or budget and then had it tweaked and sent back on occasion and for retweaking. That is not the complete final top line. That is right now our preliminary approved top line. So the process will go that we will be doing expenses and seeing how our proposed top line shakes out. And it's my hope that we do not have to revisit top line. But should that case may be, we will be reaching back out to kind of relook at top line. If there's an opportunity for growth in the various areas, we will do so. This year, a couple different philosophy changes. For many of our hotels, will be budgeting training expenses. As a philosophy in years past, we have not budgeted training expenses. That is for sure true with our Starwood ownership group, as they've asked us to do that going into this year. The jury is still out whether we will do that for all other third-party management agreements. So if you have a hotel that is a third-party man, is it across the board? Oh, I'm sorry. It is across the board. We will be budgeting training expenses and those types of things. We will not be budgeting maintenance expenses that we don't know when the boiler is going to break. Typically, that would be a capital item. So we will budget our normal maintenance-related items. For example, light bulbs and recurring expenses. This year, we're working towards a program that we are going to be outsourcing contract cleaning of PTAC units. Those will be done through Cintas, and the real couple big pluses to that is it's going to be more cost-effective than having Eldon come to your hotel, because in years past that could be pretty prohibitively costly. It's something we could schedule, like we would schedule carpet cleaning, so we can budget for it and execute it in the parameters of our budget. as opposed to, we don't know when Eldon's going to be able to get there, didn't know when it's going to fit in our occupancy. And obviously the hotel's growing. We have obviously just opened a new hotel in Port Huron, and soon in this fall we'll be opening a new hotel with at the new Grand Rapids Residence Inn that is coming very, very soon. And there's just a ton of projects that are percolating with Bloomington in the very near future, and then possibly venturing in other even new states. So our company is growing. So Eldon and the whole development team is really stretched very thin. So we're not going to wait to rely on him to be available to do our PTAC unit. So we'll be budgeting that and contract cleaning. Rob's been working on that project to reach out to Centos to set up national pricing. We actually have seen the way that works. They don't have to. It's a much quicker process. They don't have to carry the units outside the building. They have an in-room technique that they wrap it basically in, for lack of a better term, a giant plastic bag, and the work is all done with a vacuum and high-pressure water inside the room, where they can just merely slip the room back in, and the downtime of the room and the transport time is all mitigated. So it's a much more seamless process. So a lot of those things you'll see coming in this year's budget window. But the biggest piece that you're going to be asked of you that's different than years past is that we're going to budget daily in M3. For example, in years past, we've kind of done all that work. We've gone through the budget process, and we've done it daily, and it comes up to a rolled-up number for the month. And then we put in the total rooms occupied into M3 for June, for example, and the ADR. What we're going to do this time is take this a step farther and go from doing all that work, doing it by day, to then taking that information and placing it in M3. And the biggest reason to do that is, and if you guys watch your reports on a regular basis, for example, say you have a month that is the revenue I just unmuted everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Now I can.
Yeah, now we can.
Have you not been the whole time?
About a minute or so.
Oh, okay. Well,
Right when we started typing. Hello.
oh, okay. Sorry. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll leave us on unmute, and maybe that will help. I don't know what was causing that, but just let's try to keep the ambient noise down so that we don't have to put everybody on mute, and that way you can just have any questions to say so. But basically, we're going to budget daily. The good news is you don't actually have to do this in M3. In front of you, you'll see a spreadsheet that we've put together. And this will be the final step in the budget process. Once your RDOs have finished your bottom line expenses, and we've gone through and kind of calculated it out and make sure that our house profits are within budgetary expectations of your individual ownership groups, we will then either revisit that or hopefully sign off on that as a final. Then you're going to be asked to complete the following spreadsheet. You can see they're all done by periods 1 through 12, so each month. And then ADRs down to the bottom by each month. Basically, the yellow part is the part you're going to want to fill in. The first step will be putting in your period, your 2013 rooms occupied. and your 2013 ADR and the revenue. What then this will do for you, as you fill these out each day, you can tweak, and the goal is to turn this into, and basically your total revenue would be revenue you actually are doing for 2013. When I say 2013, you should include the last 2 months of, this won't be coming out till early October. So you'll include basically October, November, and December of 2012 in this section right here. And then, for example, same for ADR and the same for rooms occupied. And then you're going to want to tweak your daily each day until that you get a total revenue, ADR, and occupancy to the amount that is in the pre-approved, will be in your final approved top-line budget. And I'm going to show you a quick trick to save you some time as opposed to typing all these things. Many of you obviously are real familiar with this tool. This is our forecast tool. So if you were to, and you would have your numbers in here, well, first let me preface that remembering that next year, the 16th of September example in this scenario is not going to be a Monday. So make sure that when you're putting information into the other spreadsheet that you plan on the Monday being the 17th of September. Does that make sense to everybody? But once you have the data in here, if you just hit copy and you go back over to the other spreadsheet, it's obviously when you paste, it will paste horizontally. If you right-click and you'll see this special paste icon here, you'll see that it actually posts transposed, it's called, and then it will post up and down. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel to put all this information in. So you can copy and paste it from the work you've already done. And so that will save you a ton of time. As you can see, that pre-populated information over here. And then in theory, I would have, say if I, in this scenario, say this was the whole month, I had 1,000 rooms, and I would have and then I would have a variance then of 4%. And then I would be able to come over here and tweak these numbers, accordingly. Oh, I need to add and find where it needs to fit, and based on the day of the week here. And then I would tweak this into the point where I end up with a zero variance or near zero variance. And that same functionality will be true in the ADR. You can take your ADR here, for example, hit copy, come down to ADR, and hit the transpose paste, and it'll drop the data in there, for example. And then it will, the reason it's giving us a load ADR because it takes the whole month. It's assuming that we only have that ADR for the entire month. But you can copy and paste these individually, so it won't take a ton of time because you've already done the vast majority of the work. And what's cool about this spreadsheet is once it comes, you send it to us, I can take this data and import it specifically from this spreadsheet directly into your M3. So what's great in your 2014, you'll be able to get a real sense of how you're pacing in the month, as opposed to think that, I always call that the hero to zero effect, or vice versa. Sometimes if your revenue is all backloaded in the month, you'll start out and you'll be down, 15 or 20% on your daily report, but in reality, you're not. You're going to make it. Great example is Clint's Hotel this month. His reports are showing that he's down, and these reports all go to the ownership group, shows that he's down like 9% with only a few days left remaining. But the reality is that Clint has Harley Fest that checks in today, and that his average rate over the next 4 nights is $399. So he will more than catch up that 9%, and then go much over and above that. So if we were to have budgeted in a more daily basis like we're planning into 2014, it wouldn't have looked like that. It would look like that he was at pace or even above pace relative to budget. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Any questions at all? Comments, smart remarks? I've expected a smart remark. We will, obviously this is your preliminary numbers. You want to come back to these numbers is what you want to get back. It doesn't have to be to the penny. Don't lose your mind trying to get to the cent, but we want to get within just a very, very small percentage. This will be coming out again early October, but we wanted to prepare you for it, and start thinking about this process. I don't think it's going to be especially challenging, but I think the rewards will be very beneficial on your daily, understanding of where you stand relative to budget, so you can make good staffing decisions. You can make good purchasing decisions. This is just kind of like the functionality of the checkbook to give you additional information to make sure you're managing to the most effective house profit for you and your ownership groups. That's all I have about that. Does anybody have any questions? And now is the time to kind of bring them up. You think it's a good idea, bad idea? Hopefully you think it's a good idea, but I think it's going to be another tool to help you manage your expenses. A couple things I wanted to talk real quickly about. There's been some questions as related to some other previous webinar topics, and I kind of just want to quick revisit those. Number one is associated with ACH and vendors. There has been some confusion associated with requiring ACH and what are we going to require and how. You will in the short near future be seeing a revised ACH form coming out. We will be requiring ACH of vendors that we will be establishing a long-term relationship with, meaning that if we have a vendor that it's going to be a new landscaping company, or it's going to be a company that we're going to be paying, a lot of, it's not so much a lot of money, but paying a lot of checks over the course of time, we will be requiring ACH there. If we have a vendor that is, like many of you going through a PIP, that we're paying a tile guy, that we obviously won't be paying a tile guy. He'll be in and out and done. He won't be in our lives anymore. The form will have a spot that your RDO will be able to provide an exception to the ACH rule on the new form. Additionally, any check request that goes in for a guest refund or something to that effect, they will not be required to be ACH. The reason Terry had kicked some of those back in Terry's mind, and this is when she goes to pay those, she has to set up a new vendor. No, not unlike she would set up any vendor when you send a new vendor form, because a guest that we're paying has to be a vendor. So she sees that as a similar process. So that was a little bit confusing, and then we've kind of ironed that out now. So hopefully we can change that. It's important when we're talking about ACH to our vendors is to really sell the benefits of it. Well, for us, the cost to pay someone via ACH is exponentially lower. Depending on who you ask, the average cost of a check to pay someone is around $3 to $5. That would include labor to mail the check, a stamp, the envelope, the physical stamp itself, the time that our accounting department spends doing this. And to pay someone via ACH, it actually only costs us 64 cents. So if you can imagine, we roughly spend as a company, I saw this just the other day, around $72 million annually. So you can imagine how many checks that is. So the savings that we can incur by pushing vendors into ACH is exponential. It's an amazing way to really recoup some costs that we always kind of just were assumed costs. In a day that we're asking you to drive ADR, and we're in a days that we're asking you to find every savings you can, and we're revising top line. Anytime that we can lower some of those fixed expenses can only help us to be more profitable. It helps us to have better management fees for our hospitality specialists. It helps you become more available to bonus opportunities. So all in all, it's a very good endeavor. Additionally, when you sell it, I want you to sell that it's a benefit to the vendor, that they don't have to wait for a check to come. They'll get email notification. They don't have to take it to the bank. It comes in a more expeditious fashion. There's no checks bouncing. There's no checks being lost in the mail. There's none of that. And honestly, generally speaking, it's kind of the wave of the future. It's really not the wave of the future. It's the wave of 10 years ago, and we're just catching the top of it. So And I guess if it comes down to, for example, we have our background check company. Obviously, as you can expect, we pay the background check company mini check because each of your hotels they cut a check for your individual hotel. So a minimum of 25 checks per month times 25 months. You can see in just that one vendor, a huge expense that could be a huge savings. They're choosing not to participate. We as an organization are going to fire them. We're looking for a different vendor because they won't begin to play. And I think companies, if they want to, honestly, at the end of the day, if they want to be paid by us, this is how we're going to pay. But we also understand that there is scenarios where it's a one-time deal and we're not going to go through the ACH process. If you're not getting expense checks to the ACH, that is a requirement. We will be resending out that form, fill it out. I get my expense checks that way. I don't have to think about it. They don't sit on my desk. My wife doesn't yell at me. Everything about that is good. So that's my bit about ACH. Then I wanted to follow up regarding some of the new governmental forms, I-9s, and those. Ensure that we sent out after Rob's webinar regarding human resources we did last month. We still are seeing some of the old forms coming into our accounting office, and that just slows workflow to get those kinds of things turned around. So please, if you've had packets pre-made, because hey, if I hire somebody, I can just go grab it. Revisit those to ensure that you have the most up-to-date forms for your state. If you have other people other than yourself that are hiring and doing new hire paperwork, maybe you have an executive housekeeper or an AGM or somebody for an office manager or what have you. Make sure they have the right forms, because all it does is just every time we do that, it generates a whole slew of emails and confusion, and it just slows us down as an organization. So take the time to make sure that you're using the proper forms. Again, we're always looking for additional webinar topics. Next month we'll be doing another one, so if there's something that has come to mind, for example, we'll probably be doing one in the very near future as to how to regain GSS and SALT rankings. We were looking at our company as a whole, and after this massive amount of PIPs, we've taken a big thumping company-wide. Not one person, one hotel to single out. It's just generally speaking, company-wide, we have taken a beat on GSS, and now would be a good time to showcase many of your new products and kind of regain our focus out of the PIP world and into our real world, and that's taking care of our customers. So unless anybody else has anything for the group or any comments or questions, please forward them along or bring them up. But we'll be posting this webinar on YouTube, so when you're going through this process here in a couple months, you won't have to feel like, oh gosh, I can't remember what Matt said, or what am I doing in this box, or how do I transpose paste Excel where you can do horizontally to vertically. Obviously you could always reach out to your leadership, or encourage you to go back and keep these YouTube videos I send out. So if you have any questions, they're there as kind of a resource base, and as opposed to just one time I heard it and I moved on and got busy. And please share it with other people within your organization. If you have an AGM that you'd like to see grow within our organization, share with them these webinars, because those people are folks that we obviously want to continue to develop and grow, and this would be a great way to help their continuing education. So it's great to always promote from within, and our organization has a history of that, so this is a great way to help prepare those people for those opportunities when they come available. So unless you have anything else, I wish you all a great day, and we'll talk to you in the near future. Thanks a lot.